Hello, Fellowship Church and friends. This is my first devotional that I've posted in a week. Schedule has changed a little bit since we've started doing in-person services on Sundays, and I tried to take most of Monday off this week. The devotionals may be a little bit more sporadic in the coming days, but I plan to still keep posting and want to get all the way through a gospel primer. And Lord willing, I'll still post 3 a week. But I'm still working that out. So anyway, here we go. Reason number 17 to preach the gospel to ourselves every day. The gospel liberates us from self-love. All right, listen. Compared to greater endeavors, self-love is mundane and tiresome. Consequently, the more thoroughly I can be done with such tedium, the freer my soul will be to soar at its God-intended heights. In other words, he's saying God made us for something much greater than just being absorbed with ourselves. One of the leading causes of my natural tendency to self-love is fear. I fear that if I do not love myself, there will be no one left to love me quite so well as I do. We think a lot of times that we have to watch out for ourselves, that we have to watch out for number one, that we have to put ourselves first because we fear nobody else is going to put us first. Nobody else is going to care about us. And so we can tend to be consumed with making sure that we're taken care of. An even more significant cause of self-love is a lack of persuasion that there is someone out there who is worthy to be loved more than I. Arrogance lies underneath both of these causes. I love myself supremely because I am the most worthy person I know to be loved, and also because I think I can do a better job at it than anyone else. And so if you're like, maybe not at first kind of rising in your heart to think, oh yeah, this is good, self-love is bad. Listen to this. Such arrogance makes me dangerous. And then he quotes 2 Timothy chapter 3, verse 1, which says, but know this, that in the last days perilous times will come. So perilous, dangerous times will come. For, and here's why, men will be lovers of themselves. And by this, it doesn't mean that we don't treat ourselves well, that we don't do what's best for ourselves. It says in Ephesians 5 that no man ever hated himself or hated his own flesh, hated his own body. What it's talking about when we're talking about loving self and the love of self in this perilous, dangerous way, we're talking about putting myself above everything else, exalting myself, prioritizing myself, being consumed with myself, being focused on myself, being self-absorbed, kind of inverted on self. Okay, so such arrogance makes me dangerous, yet it is deeply ingrained in my sinful flesh. Thankfully, the gospel frees me from the shackles of self-love by addressing both of these causes, both the fear that nobody else will love me and the sense that I'm the most important thing in the universe, right? So the gospel addresses both of these causes of sin. First, the gospel assures me that the love of God is infinitely superior to any love that I could ever give to myself. John says, greater love has no man than this, than that one lay down his life for his friends. Okay, and actually that's Jesus in the Gospel of John. And the deeper I go into the gospel, the more I experience the truth of his claim that nobody has greater love than him, and thereby know how far his love for me surpasses even my own. So think about Romans 8:32. He who did not spare his own son, but freely gave him up for us all, how much more will he also graciously give us all things? His astonishing love for me renders self-absorption moot and frees me up to move on to causes and interests far greater than myself. So here's the deal. The gospel is not, I've heard John Piper put it something like this. It's not an exact quote, but in the gospel, God doesn't come and make much of me. He doesn't come and say, okay, I am going to exalt you as the greatest being in the universe. I am going to put you at the center of the universe. No, what in the gospel, what God does is he comes and he sets us free from slavery to self in order to live for things that are worthy and greater than we could ever imagine. He sets us free from self-absorption so that we can enjoy knowing and worshiping him, right? So his astonishing love for me renders self-absorption moot and frees me up to move on to causes and interests far greater than myself. And so I hope and pray that you have been set free by the gospel so that you're free to live for Jesus, free to live for others, and that you don't have to feel like you have to watch your back and take care of yourself because nobody else does. Because listen, Jesus loves you and he laid down his life for you, and he promises to give you everything that you need for life and godliness. Okay, so in the next devotional on Friday, Lord willing, we'll talk about the second way the gospel helps us to overcome this self-absorption, and that it shows us that there's something much greater, infinitely greater, to love and devote ourselves to than just ourselves. All right, God bless you guys.